Welcome back to Chicago Now. Drive till you can afford a house. That's a new motto that's going around right now. That was more common in the late 90s, early 2000s during the subdivision boom. But you know what? It is back alive and well because prices, they're high, Tia Ewing.
They are high. Don't add in the taxes and don't look at some of the schools and, you know, you're paying for what? You know, kids can't go to the school. You call 911. Police may not be coming. I get it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. We're seeing more clients also obviously looking to live a little further away from the city.
Yeah.
And joining us to weigh in is Realtor Matt Laricy. Matt, I mean, join the conversation here. Have you been seeing more of this yourself?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely been seeing people go much further out than we have in the past. A lot of that is due to affordability. Rising home prices in the Chicagoland area. I mean, some parts of the closer suburbs have hit record high numbers, and that's forcing them to drive even further out. And, you know, they kind of drive till they can start seeing prices that they could stomach and that have, like you mentioned, good schools and kind of fit their lifestyle.
Matt, I want to ask you if you think taxes has anything to do with this. And then my other question, in addition to that, is what areas are we talking about? What are some popular spots that people are choosing?
I mean, going out of Cook County is definitely a big attraction for a lot of people, especially with that most recent sticker shock that everybody in Chicago got of, you know, seeing how much their tax bills has gone up. And, you know, obviously you guys have done some segments about it, but, you know, the western suburbs have been really popular in DuPage County because you have really, really good schools. And, you know, you get, you know, your dollar goes much farther out there. I mean, like Naperville's a big one. Like, look at Naperville. Naperville, I remember like, you know, like 10 to like 14, like it was good. It wasn't like the greatest thing in the world. And like now it's like Naperville is like huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was named like the #1 best like you know, suburb there was in Illinois or something. It won some big stat recently, right? And that was one that was never ranked up there. And I think a lot of people have moved out there because, you know, you have train access to get to the city if you want to, but you have really good schools, your taxes are more affordable, and your dollar goes farther.
You know, yeah, Plainfield, I'm thinking, Bartlett, I'm thinking, all of those are just growing and growing. Like, what is the price difference? Like, what are we talking when people are finding these single-family homes way out further in the suburbs, say Plainfield, Naperville, rather than closer to the city?
I mean, like, it's substantial, right? Like, if you can't get like, if you want to be like in the city, like the downtown markets, like Lincoln Park, I mean, you're not finding anything under $1.5 million, right? So then you go out to the suburbs, and then people will go out to, like, let's say like an Oak Brook or a LaGrange because that's like a little bit closer to the city, right? And so now you're in like an 800 to like a 1.2 on like just a basic entry, and then people who are priced out of that will go to Downers or Darien, and now they're in like that 5 to 7 range, and then they go further out from that. Now let's put them in like a Bolingbrook or a Naperville or something like that, and they want to be more in that, like, you know, 3 to 500 range. So it just essentially, you just get cheaper as you go further out, and a lot of people who aren't making, you know, a substantial amount of money need to kind of keep driving to be able to get to a budget that they can, you know, afford.
How far are you seeing people willing to drive into the city just to have the home that they've always wanted for their family?
I've seen people switch states, right? I see a lot of people going to Northwest Indiana right now, you know, and it's mostly because what you mentioned earlier, which was what the taxes are. I've never heard of anybody saying they want to move to Indiana from Chicago, like ever. And, you know, now, you know, and like,
no shade, Indiana,
right?
no shade.
Like, you know, I'm not saying anything bad about anybody from Indiana. They get all upset about this, but I'm just saying, like, you know, we're seeing people drive very, very far. And with people being more flexible with how many days they have to go into the office and things of that nature, it's, you know, you take North Shore, for example, right? So the North Shore is extremely popular with wealthy individuals, and a lot of people want to live in the North Shore, but like they can't afford it, so they just keep driving up that lake almost all the way till they get to Wisconsin. So it's, you know, you're seeing more and more people go to like Geneva. Barrington's a big one, right? Barrington's, you know, it's, in my opinion, it's pretty far out there. And I remember that we would have a lot of clients that would want to buy in-towners, or, you know, they were downsizing, so they'd have to sell their place in Barrington to buy a place downtown. I'd be like, call me in 3 years when your place finally sells. And like, they would literally call me 3 years later, like, oh, we finally got a buyer, because, you know, it's such a tough market out there. Now it's like you put something up there, it sells in a day. And that's because buyers are traveling further out to get a bigger house to be in a good school.
Yeah, and you end up in competition with other buyers depending on where you're looking to. Matt, I do want to ask you a question about properties in downtown specifically, but we do have to take a quick break. So stay with us and we'll be right back. Homes in places in downtown, condos, townhouses, etc., stay on the market a little longer? Are the prices holding? Are they dropping? What are you seeing?
Well, in Chicago, you have a tale of two cities in the downtown market. You have the actual downtown markets, think like Loop, River North, South Loop, West Loop, things of that nature. That's one market. And then you have the outskirts, which is pretty much everything outside the immediate downtown area. So think like West Town up to like Old Irving and like Lincoln Square down to Old Town. In the downtown proper markets, the prices are dropping. Inventory is up. And it is, well, inventory's up compared to other areas. It's actually down year over year. And it's a very difficult sell. Like downtown's like probably one that's toughest sells in the country right now. You know, but the outskirts at the same time is probably one of the hottest markets I've seen in my career, if not the hottest.
Can I ask you what you're hearing from people that are selling in downtown? And maybe the people that occasionally look in downtown, since it is a hard sell, what is the issue? What kind of why are they deciding to sell, and why is it that people aren't looking in downtown maybe like they used to?
I mean, it's a very controversial subject and people get very upset about it, but all I can tell you is that like the number one reason people tell me why they're selling downtown is safety. You know, it is what it is. It's just people just don't feel the same like they used to. They don't like management. You know, they don't like the way the direction the city's going. So they're like, why am I going to spend all this money and then I'm getting taxed to death and my taxes aren't really giving me anything? It's not like my schools are great. It's not like the city has gotten safe in their way. And it's not like new businesses are like crushing moving in. So because of these reasons, they're selling their place. And at the same time, the people that are buying into those areas, there's just not like that big of a market for it right now, because the same people that would normally be buying that, there's no market for it, right? So like you look at high rises, for example, like probably 30 to 35% of buyers are empty nesters, in-towners, out-of-state buyers, and international buyers. Like that market's pretty much dead right now. A lot of those people just, I think the perception's way worse than reality. So I'll be on the record. I'm bullish on the city. I think the city's great. You know, I'm a big proponent of the city, but I think a lot of people read these articles on the news, or they see that, you know, a car drives through Burberry on Michigan Avenue, and they're like, listen, I'm not going to buy there. Like I could, you know, pay 1/20th of the taxes and go get a mansion in Florida, and I could just retire there. So that's been affecting the marketplace.
Yeah, well, hopefully city leaders are listening as they try to reach a deal on the budget, and not to mention if the Bears get out of town, that could cause a whole nother ripple effect of issues.
Well, what I think people need to concentrate on is like bringing the city back to life, and the fact of like, we have to realize that cities run on money and we need to attract the businesses. So what we should be doing is attracting businesses to come into the city that then produces money and jobs. And then you could take that money and do useful things with it. But as of right now, we've been pushing, you know, businesses out of the city. And this is why, you know, where prices are going down. I mean, you push something like a Citadel out, and like, what were they bringing? $200-300 million a year in taxes to the city, and we just let them go. And then you got a lot of buyers in there that can afford $3 to $10 million properties that then produce, you know, hundreds of $1,000s a year for taxes, and we say we don't want them anymore because we politically don't agree with them. It's like we got to push that stuff to the side and just realize that we need that money to help our city run. And we have to think about reinventing Michigan Avenue, right? I mean, I think it's still 39% vacant. I think I read a stat once that 65% of the sales tax revenue for Michigan, for our city, comes from Michigan Avenue, and it's sitting there 39% vacant. Like, why are we not putting pressure to fill those stores and recreate the Michigan experience to make more tourism come here? Because then we could generate more money, because then guess what happens? We'll have more money for the city. So we're not looking at the city as a business proponent. And that's what's pushing people to not want to live in the heart of the city anymore. And that's why prices are dropping, inventory's up, and demand is down. It's not rocket science. It's a very easy solution to fix. Like, listen, if you take 39% of Michigan Avenue and just put it down to 15% vacant, guess what? Like, more people will come here. Like, it's that simple.
Yeah, we're not there yet, but hopefully maybe somebody's watching this show and they hear what you have to say, because so far we have not been trending in the right direction.
Yeah, and then we hear, like you said, you know, these companies leaving, and so then there's these corporate buildings that are open, and they're and then they're changing. Isn't there an effort to try to change those corporate buildings into rentals or maybe condos and
into
such?
housing? But that'll never work. Listen, like the way Chicago code works is, you pretty much are cheaper to just bulldoze the building and rebuild it, okay? Because like to go from commercial to residential literally won't work just with the ductwork alone, okay? So like you'd have to redo all the riser systems and all the ventilation systems, and it just would never work. I mean, the reality is we shouldn't be looking to push those into residential housing. We should be pushing those to have businesses come back to the city. We should be pushing those to that State Avenue when you drive down it right now that looks like a zombie ghost land. That should be filled and flourishing with business people there, filling up local mom and pop shops to fill the wallets of them, which then creates jobs, which then creates more money for the city, which then creates a better, cleaner, and safer city. That's what we should be doing. That's what we should be trying to do, which then makes people to want to live in the city again, which then makes property taxes go down because we have more revenue coming in. It's just simple math the way it works.
So when are you running for office?
I'll tell you right now, if I ran for office, I would crush it. But I mean, I have a million ideas for how we can reinvent Michigan Avenue, of how we can bring more businesses in the city. I mean, we have the third largest city in the country. It's got some of the best energy, the best food, the best people, the best sports scene. We have everything we have to offer. We need to just secure it and get the energy back. Like you mentioned earlier, we cannot let the Bears leave. The Bears are a staple. For all the Bears that are watching this, leaving Chicago is probably the worst move you could ever do. You are the Chicago Bears. They should pull a move of what Daley said back in the day, is if you moved to Arlington, you're called the Arlington Bears, not the Chicago Bears anymore. That's our name. But we need them. And we need the sports to keep being here, because that's what makes Chicago, Chicago.
Your political video.
Yeah, you know what?
Just recorded it, Matt Laricy.
You can take a clip right here, Matt. Hey, Matt, I love getting kind of like free advice, but someone like, there's a lot of people out there who might think that getting their first house, their first dream house is unattainable, right? Because things are so expensive. I'm going to give you just like some of my, what my husband and I are trying to figure out. We just got married. We're renting right now. We're like, okay, you know what? Do we want to stay downtown? Do we want to invest in like maybe a condo, a property, or do we want to go and, get a proper house out in the suburbs? What would you say? What's some advice to people who might be kind of going back and forth with those two ideas?
I think if you just got married and you're not going to have a kid in the next 12 months, I would say buy for the next 3 to 5 years. Because the reality is that like once you have a kid, everything will change. So the big problem I have with a lot of young first-time buyers that are like yourself is that you guys just got married. Like, we're going to have a family in the future, maybe 3 years, maybe 5. Of course, then you have to see how things go. Like, things can get complicated, etc. So, so then you buy this 3-bedroom, you spend all this extra money for it. You don't use 2 of the bedrooms. It just sits there with luggage and storage. And then when you finally have the kid that you got that 3rd bedroom for, you end up moving in the suburbs anyways and spending more money. So what I say is like, listen, you're starting off your life, keep your bills down, get an affordable 1-bedroom that's liquid, right? Meaning that you could sell or rent it very fast in the future, something that's easy, that's not going to stress you out. That way will give you more money to be able to save for the future, to be able to buy that house when the kids do come, and then figure out, where you are in life in 3 to 5 years. You could get transferred tomorrow and move to New York, right? So like now you got this house out in a suburb that you're never using. So look at it more short term when you're at your age. When you get older and you have kids, look at it more long term, because now you have to think about, well, where are we raising our kids? Where are we going to send our kids to school, etc. But that's a big problem that a lot of people in your position, don't kind of look at. You try to look 10 years out rather than looking 3 to 5 out.
Yeah, you know what? That's good advice, because I feel like everyone gives you so much pressure, or you seem to feel like so much pressure because of how things used to be. Well, 2025, we got to start.
Things are different. Yeah, and people don't move into homes like they used to and stay there for 50 years.
It's boomer mentality. Like, it's the same way, like, you don't look at 30-year mortgages anymore. Like, what I tell my clients in your position, look at like 7 to 10-year ARMs or 15-year ARMs. Go with the lowest rate, because I'll tell you right now, like, you're not going to hold this place for 30 years. And if you're saving 1%, okay, by doing a 7 to 15-year ARM, then do that. Like, because you're not going to be there. But when you talk to your parents are like, well, how could you ever take an ARM out? Like, what if the market crashes? Like, you're not going to be here in 7 years anyway, so who cares?
Right.
Like, just get out of it.
Yeah.
So, like, you have to think about it different. Like, times have changed. We're not living the same way we lived in the 80s, so why would you take out mortgages or look at housing the way you do in the 80s? You have to be a little bit more forward thinking about it.
Well, I know who to call if I need any kind of advice.
Honestly,
on life, period. I'm calling Matt Laricy. It has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you this morning.
Thank you so much, guys, for your time. I really appreciate it.
All right, we'll have you back. I know we're going to have you back. I know it.
Honestly, probably.
All right.